Thank you for being here today. We're having a live webinar on the financial administrator position with the BC Office of the Human Rights Commission. If I could just get attendees to use the chat function and let me know and confirm if you can hear and see me. Not seeing anything.
Well, it says there's 19 participants.
Chat function
Someone's raising their hand.
Okay. So we can use the Q&A instead of the chat function. Sorry about that, folks, but just a confirmation that you can see and hear us. If you can use the Q&A and say yes. Awesome. Okay, thank you. We're in business. Okay, thanks everyone. Apologies for starting a few minutes late here. Leonie and I are just tinkering with Zoom. So welcome. My name is Kate Fitzpatrick. I am the Manager of Human Resources at the BC Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. First, I'd like to begin our call with a territorial acknowledgement. I'm very grateful to be joining this meeting today from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, which is otherwise known as East Vancouver. I invite each of you to take a moment and reflect with gratitude and respect for the lands on which you're joining us here today. So today we have a wonderful panel. We do have Leonie Greengas, who is our new Chief Financial Officer, as well as the Executive Director of our Corporate Shared Services Department. We also have Bernard Achampong, who is the Deputy Commissioner at BCOHRC. However, I believe that Bernard has joined as an attendee and not as a panel member. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we'll see. And Bernard, if you're not able to speak, come through as an attendee, perhaps we can fill in the blanks on the overview.
Yeah, he's saying he can hear, but he doesn't have access.
Yeah, there's check your email, Bernard. There might be a copy and pasted invite as a panel member. Okay, well, we're very happy to be here today and to share with you a little bit more about this new and exciting role. So just a little bit about what we'll cover today. So perhaps rather than doing an organizational overview and its history, perhaps we can just focus today really on the role itself and the new corporate shared services team. Me being in HR, I would speak to our hiring process and just some high-level related HR items that you might have questions about. We welcome any questions that you have at the end of today's presentation, and please use the Q&A box as you found at the bottom of the screen. If we aren't able to cover all of your questions today, we'll certainly create a document that will cover any questions and answers, and we will post that on our career site. So be sure to check back in. So with that, I'm going to just pass the microphone to Bernard. It looks like he's been able to join us, and he'll be able to speak to you about our organizational overview. So before we dive in, please note that this session is being recorded. And if you are watching as a video, welcome to you as well. Audio and chat functions are turned off, so please submit your questions through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Confidentiality is important to us, so there's an option for you to submit your questions anonymously using the Q&A function. Please feel free to use that, and we will not read out anyone's names along with any questions. With that, Bernard, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Kate, I'm not sure if you can actually give me access to show my desktop or bring up the deck that I sent you, if that's possible. But before we sort of play with technology and get set, just again, apologies for the late start. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for your time. My name is Bernarda Champon, and I do serve as the Deputy Commissioner for the BC Human Rights Commissioner's Office. And of course, my counterparts, Kate and Leonie, are with us today. I'm hoping that as I talk through this, I have access. Otherwise, I'll just wing it.
Leonie, are you able to share it? I've
Yeah,
given Leonie
I'm just
hosting
sorry, I'm
abilities.
just having technical difficulties too, but I've got it open on my computer, so I'll just go back to share it.
Great. Thank you.
So is it showing now? It's not showing me. I'm used to Teams. I'm not used to Zoom. Is it showing okay? No?
Not yet, but so folks, why don't I start with sort of my personal reflections of the organization as you see, as you sort of hopefully read about Office. I have been in the public service prior to this appointment. I started this appointment about 3 months ago, and I had been in government in public service for 19 years. I've served in different capacities, 6 different ministries, and I just recently, over the last 3 years, I had been in public health as an acting ADM, and then senior executive director with children and family development prior to this work. Uh, the reason why this office resonated with me was that the meaningful and impactful opportunity that it offered myself as someone who is really looking to make a difference. My leadership purpose is to really look at applying my skill set into a job or into an area that I can actually make that meaningful impact. And what resonated as I read through material, just like yourself, I had come to one of these webinars, was the idea of being able to contribute something to address inequality and discrimination and injustice. That really resonated with me. And to the sentence that really made everything come to life for me was to help shape a just society, healthy communities and individuals. That really, really resonated with me. So just like yourselves, I listened to the webinar at that point, and I thought about what can I bring as a skill set to really contribute to the office. And as you listen to us today, and if I was in your shoes, one of the things that I'll be thinking about is how can I contribute my financial administrative skills? How can I contribute what I've learned in contracts administration? How can I contribute to a sustainable organization? We are a young organization, about 5 years in. And so really looking for someone to come in with those skill sets. And I remember that's what I thought about myself. Or how can I think about coming in and being part of an engaged workforce? One of the areas or one of the things that I've thought about as the last 3 months that I've been in this my role, I've really appreciated the culture of BC Human Rights Commission. I like the culture of compassion. I like the culture of teamwork. I like the culture of recognizing each other. And I've really, really liked the culture of having this clear goal, clear vision of really helping address inequality in British Columbia. So if there's anything that I want to leave with you, these are my personal reflections, is what do I bring to the table to contribute? And that's a question that I hope each one of you is asking as you think through this opportunity. Now, a little bit about how we organize. So I think you can see from the screen, I will say that it starts with the commissioner, Kasari Governor. I've had the opportunity to work with her the last several months, and I've really appreciated her leadership and her vision. And that really inspires me to be part of something, to be part of really working with the team around the commissioner. My role as a deputy commissioner is really to support the commissioner and to support the teams that actually work with the commissioner. And so we have 5 teams. We have the communications and operations team. We have a research and policy team. We have an education and engagement team. And we have a legal team. And then we have a new corporate services team. We hadn't had this team until recently. Our corporate services was delivered working with the representative of child and youth. We shared services for the last several years. And then it became, as we grew as an organization, it became imminent that we actually found our own home and created and developed and brought together our own team. And so this is a team that you're going to be proud of, is the corporate services team, led by a new executive director of corporate services and CFO, Leonie, who just joined us just recently and probably has second or third week now. And so maybe, Leonie, if you could go to the next slide. I just want to talk a little bit about how corporate services is structured. The slide, yeah. Okay. Corporate services has about 7 individuals. Leonie is the executive director. The finance administrator, the job that folks are here for, will be reporting directly to the CFO. It also has the IMIT team of 2 and also an HR team of 3. And so that is the fulsome corporate services team that you'll be proud of. And I'll sort of let Leonie describe a little bit about the work that you'll be partaking in your role, supporting the corporate services team.
Great. Thank you, Bernard, for a great introduction. So I'm on week 4 on the job, but I'm not new to the public service. I've worked for the public service for 30 years, the last 10 of which was working for the Office of the Ombudsperson as the CFO, and I had my own corporate services team. We supported 4 offices at that time. So I'm used to working for an independent office. I had a wonderful team over at Ombuds. I called them my dream team, just because everyone was so engaged in the work that they did, really wanted to be there and wanted to do the best that they could do in their jobs. And everyone was very happy to be there too. So I'm looking for someone who really, like Bernard says, is looking for meaningful work and is looking to really contribute to the organization and be engaged. There's definitely a high volume of work, and the need is definitely there amongst the in the organization. It is exciting to be forming a new team, though. At the moment, there's only 4 of us here, and as Bernard mentioned, we're going to be bringing on board this position and 2 other positions. So I think you've looked at the job description, or at least I hope you've looked at the job description if you're on this call. So it basically, we're looking for someone with experience in the public service, because we really would like someone who understands the corporate accounting system, and can enter. So the description of the work is you'll be preparing contracts, preparing contract amendments, monitoring contracts. You'll be doing accounts payable, the credit card reconciliations. You'll be the person in charge of the credit cards, for the purchase cards for everyone in the organization. And you'll also be doing like fiscal, year end. You'll be doing chart of accounts. So it's very, it should be a nice progression, a career progression for someone who's in a 9 or a 12 position right now. So that's what we're hoping, is that we can find someone who's had a few years working at that level and can step into this role, with some knowledge and experience in the kind of work that they will be doing. So I think one thing that I will mention is that we've said that this person can be located in either Vancouver or Victoria. So in Vancouver, we have our head office, and it's the only official office space that we have. So if the person was located in the Greater Vancouver area, they could come into the office. We had a requirement of 1 day a week, but we're working to make the work so that it can be done remotely. But there will still be a requirement to come into an office at some points. In Victoria, we use the share space. So that's the office that they could go into, but there could be occasional travel over to Vancouver. So I just want to make sure that people realize that upfront and are prepared to do that. There are things like bank deposits, that have to be done physically. So there will be a requirement to work in an office at some points, but not regularly. We think mainly this will be working from home or in a shared space, either in Vancouver or Victoria. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about the position. Don't know, Kate, if you.
So I am just checking the questions. Okay, so the first question is asking if the BC OHRC is separate from the BC Public Service as an employer. Very good question.
Very
Bernard,
good
would you like
question.
to take that one? So yes, the answer to that is yes, we are an independent office of the Legislative Assembly. So while we do follow in the footstep of some provincial government processes and practices, we are very much an independent office, and that is essential for our work. To be able to independently be able to conduct inquiries that are not associated with the current government or future government for that matter. So just for the nature of our work, we are independent, and there are several other independent offices of legislative assemblies in BC, including the ombudsperson or the representative of children and youth. So the commissioner is an appointed officer by the Legislative Assembly. So she is not a government employee. She does not report to a deputy minister. She reports directly to a standing committee of the Legislative Assembly. So I hope that answers that question.
I think the person was also asking, I don't know if they were or not, but maybe, yes, you are part of the BC Public Service. So this is continuing, it's definitely a public service job, but we are independent from core government, as Kate outlined.
And just to expand on that from an employee experience and from employee compensation and benefits, while this might be a little bit detailed, our employees do still receive the same benefits packages that the provincial public service employees do. So when it comes to how our jobs are classified and compensation, as well as benefits, including extended health and dental and a defined pension plan, those are the same benefits, whether you're with our office or the BC Public Service.
Yeah, and the other thing Leonie and Kate have said perfectly, we are covered by the Public Service Act. And so that's a critical piece as any other government organization.
Perfect. So we have another question here. Can the work be done anywhere remotely as long as there's attendance to the office when required? For example, 2 hours from Vancouver.
So I guess I will answer that. I would like to think that yes, it could be done remotely, but for most of the time, but 2 hours would be a bit of a commute in to come into the office when needed. We don't want to exclude anyone because of that. There might be a requirement to then go on to travel status when you come into the office, so that you're traveling here, staying a night, maybe working, 1 day and the next day in the office and staying overnight. So that could be something that we will accommodate once we have the right candidate.
So another question just around remote versus on-site work requirements. So how frequently will traveling be required to Vancouver in a month? Is bank deposit part of the job responsibility? So that needs to be done from the Victoria or Vancouver office.
Yeah, I would, we're not really sure because previously this was done by RCY and they had very paper-driven processes. And I don't want us to be part of a paper-driven process. I want us to be part of an electronic process. So I really want to minimize it. The amount that someone would have to come in. When it comes right down to it, if there's a bank deposit that needs to be done, you know, I can do it because I don't think they're that frequent. But again, I'm 4 weeks into the job. I don't really know how frequent, but I would say plan on once a month that you'd have to come in.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. I think for now, Victoria or Vancouver is the posted requirement for the role, and some on-site presence may be required. And as Leonie's mentioned, she's new and she's looking to, you know, automate and streamline wherever possible. And perhaps, you know, on-site required work may evolve and may change, you know, in the coming weeks and months. So stay tuned on that. And good question here. Could you please provide some information on when candidates can expect for the interview is selected and when the intended start date for this position is? So the posting closes this week. So if you are interested and you feel that you meet the qualifications, please get your application in before the closing date, which is communicated in the posting. In terms of next steps, it depends on the number of applications we get, but it could take a week to 2 weeks to review the applications if it's a high volume. We are looking to fill this position quickly. Leonie is currently a team of 1. So we really want to get this person in the role and start contributing as soon as possible. Would look to say within the next, 4 to 6 weeks is a possible start date if everything goes according to plan. So another question here, when you say you're looking for someone with public service experience, would you consider folks with volunteer not-for-profit council experience, for example, serving on the board of directors for a local pride organization?
I really am looking for someone with public service experience, and the reason I'm saying that is because there's set templates that we use for contracts that someone would need to be familiar with. It's the corporate accounting system that's really the biggest barrier to someone coming straight in from a non-for-profit, because you would be the expert in the corporate accounting system, which is not very user friendly and not easy to learn. And I've always had people supporting me that are experts in that system. So I would not know a lot about learning that system. And that's why we're asking for someone with 2 years of experience in the BC public service.
Thank you, Leonie. Next question is, since the job is mostly remote, what would the onboarding look like? I can speak to that. We do have a well-established onboarding program. I think we can thank the pandemic for helping put an onboarding program, from face-to-face to virtual, and making sure that employees feel welcome, that they feel prepared, they feel supported and equipped with the information and the tools that they need in order to do their job. We're a small organization. We have about 40 employees, and we do have distribution throughout the province, which is really neat. And I would say everyone's really mastered, the art of using collaboration technology like we are today, Zoom and Teams, and lots of opportunities to connect. So we do have formal onboarding processes in place where my team in human resources would, welcome new employees. Our IT team would set you up, and we have cross-departmental onboarding practices where you get to learn a little bit about what every team does, what they're working on, how they contribute to organizational goals. And then you would have Leonie, who is mightily talented, who would help show you the ropes. Another question here is training for the role provided?
Yeah, we'll definitely provide training. There's lots of training available online on the corporate accounting system. There's training videos. I think there's mostly it's done remotely, the training. There are actual training sessions as well. So, and then on the job training for contracts, but there's also a procurement page where everything is outlined. So there's lots of policies and procedures of how to do things. You know, and step-by-step instructions.
Great. Thank you, Leonie. And we have a question here for, is the shared working space the same as the one that the provincial government uses?
Yes, it is. It's the one downtown or the one out at Lakeview.
Perfect. And then a question here, and I'll read it out. Please expand on it if you would like to. What are the improvement opportunities, future promotions, for example? Okay, so career development opportunities, is that the nature of this question?
Yeah, so within the organization, like I look at anyone that we hire as someone who's coming into the BC Public Service. They're not just coming into our office. We would hope that whoever wins the competition would stay around for at least 2 years, 2 to 3 years, so that they develop the skills they need to be fully performing in the job. You then have the same progression as anyone in the public service, in that there's lots of opportunities available should you choose to pursue them. But we're hoping that you like us so much that you stick around. So
Exactly. Okay, and I think we have, is traveling from Victoria to Vancouver paid, or does the employee have to bear all of the expenses? So I think Leonie covered that. If work is required by the employer, it will be covered by the employer, expenses that are related. Commuting costs, on the other hand, if you live, on Vancouver Island or on the mainland here and you're commuting to work, that cost is not covered by the employer. I hope that's clear. Okay, would you encourage someone that has less than 2 years experience in the public service but has experience in a provincial crown corporation to apply?
yeah, I would encourage you to apply. We would rather have too many applicants than not enough. And we would prefer someone with 2 years experience, but if we find the right candidate that has less than 2 years, then we'd certainly still bring them on board.
Thank you. And a question about the corporate accounting system. Would you consider the experience in different accounting systems, or are you certain about CAS from the BC Public Service?
It's more public service experience in the corporate accounting system that I'm really looking for, because like I said, it's if it was a great user-friendly system that was, the latest technology, I would say anyone can learn it, it's fine. But unfortunately, the corporate accounting system is not like that, and there's lots of training involved to become familiar with it.
Thank you. Okay, and just a note on the posting closing date. So currently the posting is scheduled to close this Friday, May the 3rd. We may decide to extend that to Monday, May the 6th. I will discuss with Leonie and see how many applications we've received, and if we feel that an extra weekend to get applications in would be a good idea. Any changes will be communicated in the posting, so please keep an eye on our careers webpage. Okay, well, I think we have addressed all of the questions that have come into this. Those are some really great questions. So thank you everyone for the technical questions, the questions about onboarding, the organization. If it's helpful, I can speak a little bit to just the hiring process itself. and some HR related items. So thank you, Leonie and Bernard, for providing these overviews.
Could I just mention one thing? The one thing that we haven't mentioned is that you are excluded from the union in this position. You are a Schedule A employee, which means you receive all of the benefits as if you were in the union, but you are not in the union. Well, actually, you receive better benefits than if you were in the union, because you then get to select management benefits. Because you're a Schedule A, you're excluded from union membership. So you don't have a union protecting you, but you do not have union dues, and we're all very nice, so you'll be great. So, but it's the advantage to getting management benefits is that you start with 140 hours or a month's vacation. So.
Good point. Thank you, Leonie, for that. And just a segue on that, in fact, as an independent office of the Legislative Assembly, all of our positions are excluded, just due to the nature that we were discussing earlier of needing to be independent from government. So this is a permanent full-time position, and it includes full benefits, as I mentioned earlier. So that's vacation, extended health, dental, and a defined pension plan. The successful candidate would have access to professional development opportunities. It's really important to our organization that we have a learning mindset and that we're supporting the continued growth and development of our employees. And that could be self-driven, personal, professional development goals, as well as specific, learning related to the job itself. We offer specialized counseling services, and we also have an employee and family support program in place that's available 24 hours, 7 days a week. And that includes services ranging from legal support, financial, and mental health counseling services. And that's available to the employee as well as to any direct household members. Our organization participates in the provincial government's Pacific Leader Scholarship Program, and that provides funding for employees who are seeking post-secondary education, including postgraduate degrees. And there are many internal learning and development opportunities with funding available within OHRC. So as Bernard mentioned, and I can speak for myself, I'm also fairly new to the organization. I think the opportunity to do truly meaningful work and make a difference on systemic change in the province is particularly a rewarding opportunity. You'd have the opportunity to collaborate with an extremely dedicated and talented group of people. I'd say they're pretty fun and really committed to the purpose of the organization. And we're constantly learning from one another and growing our knowledge and skills. And while we're no longer the small startup that we were 5 years ago, we're really still a fairly new organization. And this position is brand new, and this entire department is brand new. And it's really just showing that the organization's at a point where it needs a corporate shared services team. So I think it's really an exciting time to join the organization and the corporate shared services department. So please do refer to the job profile that's posted. This is a valuable resource for you to reference throughout the hiring process. It overviews the purpose of the role, the type of work that it does, and the position's qualification requirements. Following the job posting closing, the first stage of our evaluation process is application screening. So we will review the applications against the stated education and experience qualifications, and then perhaps the preference statements. So we just ask that in your applications that you please clearly share how, when, and where you meet each qualification, and just provide enough information so that we know that you have gained the experience that we're looking for. Candidates who meet all of the education and experience qualifications will be considered for the next stage. And if you meet any of the preference statements, please do be sure to reference that. I'll speak more to that in a moment. If you're wondering if there's a page limit maximum, technically no, but we do really appreciate being concise and clear in your applications. There is a human being reviewing every application that comes in. It's not an automated system, so please communicate how you meet the requirements clearly. And then the interview will allow us to get to know each other better and really hone in on, your journey to date and how you've gained the knowledge and skills required for the role. Depending on the number of applications, it's possible that we may have a written assignment to be determined. We will communicate that with you along the way. Please check your email regularly and let us know if your contact information has changed. If you have any accessibility needs, if you're facing any barriers or have any difficulties or considerations that might prevent you from completing an assignment or participating fully in the evaluation process as it's structured, we really want to hear from you, and we do want to support you in our hiring process. So please do reach out to me and let me know if this applies to you, and I would be happy to discuss with you and see how we can accommodate you in our hiring process. So to complement the diversity of our team, this is something that our organization really cares about deeply. Preference may be given to applicants who are Indigenous, Black, or racialized, or people with diverse gender identities or expressions, and/or people with disabilities. This is intentional. We want to have a diverse team with lived experience with human rights. We feel that in order for us to be successful as an organization, that our staff complement needs to reflect the diverse communities that we serve here in British Columbia. A fundamental operating principle of our office is nothing about us without us. Those who have lived experience with human rights have perspectives that are highly valued and needed to inform the Commissioner's work. We appreciate that it may not feel safe to share information like that, and that might be unusual for a hiring process. And we want you to know that you're in a safe environment, and we approach our work with a trauma-informed manner, and it is your choice whether to volunteer any information. For the purpose of your application, in your cover letter, you may provide a brief statement to the degree that you're comfortable sharing. No separate document is needed. So I hope that provides just some clarity around the hiring process, any kind of HR related items. We have a few more minutes, so you're welcome to ask a few more questions, or Leonie and Bernard, if there's anything you'd like to add, please chime in.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kate. I see one question here, which is actually a pretty a good question. I think that's one of the last questions. Is basically, how does this position support an understanding of human rights and social inequality? There are three ways I will look at this. I think as a learning organization, once you come into the organization, we really, really, really create an environment where you learn and work with your colleagues in really what your role and what your person contributes to human rights and inequality. So that's one. On the flip side too, the work that we do is all based on making sure that we are adequately resourced. We have the finances to support us. And your role in working with Leonie to really have those budgets, cycle, different activities that happen with making sure that we are financially sustainable is super important. The other area is contracts. We do contract, and just recently on my desk, there was a contract for an organization to help do education and awareness and to help us. So we work with a lot of nonprofits, we work with a lot of organizations. We have our engagement team, and sometimes we do contract out. Now that role will be super important in helping put together that contract, make sure that we have that contractual relationship that can help someone, an organization work with us to provide education and engagement learning across the province. So there are many ways you can look at it. One is contributing based on your skill set and making sure we're sustainable and making sure that we have finance and contracts in place. And the other is as a learning organization and what you learn as you are with us, and what you bring to the table in terms of your cultural humility, and helping with addressing inequality. So those are the things that I'll sort of leave folks with in terms of how can this position support inequality.
Well said, Bernard. Thank you. I see one more question in here around travel expenses, and I'm just going to address it because I may not have been clear in my response earlier. So the question is, as you mentioned, that once in a month, traveling to Vancouver office is required. So if an employee is traveling from the island, will this be unpaid? I'm asking for clarity. So just to be clear, this position is required to be located in either Victoria or Vancouver. We have a shared office space in Victoria, and we also have a dedicated office in Vancouver. This job may be required to do on-site work that belongs to its role in either of those offices. If you're the successful candidate and you live on Vancouver Island and you need to travel, you're being asked to travel to the Vancouver office to meet other staff and to collaborate or to attend a special meeting, your expenses will be covered by the organization because we're asking you to travel to a different headquarters office and vice versa. So if you are a Vancouver-based employee and you were asked to travel to Victoria for work, your expenses would be covered. So I hope that that's clear, and we are happy to talk more about all of these details as we get further into our hiring process. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much for attending. Thank you for the good questions. We really appreciate your interest in the role and in the organization. We hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll hand it over to Bernard for a final closing.
You close it pretty well, Kate. So maybe clunky beginning for all of us, but thank you for your patience. Thanks, Leonie, who will be a great boss. So you should just apply just because of Leonie. And thanks to Kate, and thanks to you all. The weather is turning around, so we'll leave you to your lunches, and really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.